All right, well, a good time to bring in our next guest. He was a frequent guest on this show last season, and we're happy to have him back for tonight. Well, at least tonight. Let's see if we don't piss him off. He is a contributor to ProHockeyTalk.NBCSports.com and also now a Sabres and Maple Leafs correspondent for NHL.com. You can follow him on Twitter.com/Joe Yerdon, PHT. It is Joe Yerdon. Hey, Joe.
Matthew, how are you?
I am well, my friend. Good to hear you. And congratulations, by the way, on the added title with NHL.com.
Yeah, it's been interesting and fun so far. Getting a buzz up and down the old QEW between Toronto and Buffalo.
Now, you weren't in Toronto tonight, were you?
No, I was in Buffalo tonight.
All right. So, what did you think of that game this evening?
Well, it was.
By the way, just sorry for the folks. 3-2 win for Tampa in overtime.
It was interesting for the Sabres because they were able to finally break through in the power play. They scored twice with the man advantage, but that also worked to double their scoring total for the season. So it's the goals have been few and far between for Buffalo so far this year, but they showed a lot of signs tonight of kind of snapping out of it. But in overtime, it was yet another Ivy League product in Harvard's Alex Killorn scoring the game winner as Eric Brewer kind of fanned on a shot, and everybody went with him, and then Killorn was all by himself, and Jonas Enroth had to try to dive back across to get it, and came up empty. So Sabres finally get a point on the season, but Tampa Bay comes away with the win.
Joe Yerdon joining us here on the program. Joe, your thoughts on the Laviolette firing in Philadelphia?
You know, it's one of those things where I think. It's surprising with how quick it happened, but I think we all kind of expected that Laviolette was going to be on a short leash going into this season, but I don't think we thought it was going to be a 3-game leash. I think we had it, maybe after the first month if Philly kept kind of trudging right along with not a lot of urgency. I think we can all agree that time was going to be up for him by then. But it's clear that they saw something last season, and Ed Snyder said he thought that this training camp was the worst one he's ever seen. Think about how long he's been in the NHL and working in hockey, and he says this year's training camp was the worst he's ever seen in 40, almost 50 years. So there was something obviously wrong there, and hey, if the Flyers can turn it around and bounce back the way other teams have from dumping their coach in the opening week of the season. That's even better for Philly. I mean, think of Denny Savard when he was dumped by Chicago, and the Blackhawks turned it right around with Quenneville, and became the kind of monster megalith team that they are now. So, but I don't know. Hey, listen, I think Philly's their issues are in goal. They don't think their issues are in goal, but Steve Mason, he's kind of like on that show me you got it kind of mode, but. I think it's a bummer for Laviolette, but I tell you what, if I were a coach on the hot seat, I'd be very wary about getting my team back into the hunt because I don't imagine Laviolette will be out of work very long.
All right, elsewhere in the NHL, obviously the one of the interesting stories so far this year, the awful goaltending in Edmonton, and that team just looks the same, doesn't it? Doesn't matter if it's Tom Rennie or any other coach that takes the reins there, Ralph Kruger, etc. It just seems like they're going to score some goals. They're not going to play some D. They're not going to go out and draft a defenseman in the first round. Gee, wouldn't that just be silly, right? To go out and get a blue chip defenseman? No. Let's keep loading up front and kind of not protect the goaltender, but. Do you see them going out and getting a goalie this year? Do you see them trading for D? What gives there?
Well, right when you think they have some issues solved, the new ones pop up. I don't blame them one bit for giving Devin Dubnyk the shot to prove it this year. Not that he really did. I mean, he played outstanding for a team that just did not play any defense whatsoever last year. I think this year it's just a rough start. And I suspect that maybe he's bothered by the new pad restrictions. Maybe they're covering up for some areas that he needs some work on. But I think for them, they're a team that could be sniffing around at goaltending if things continue to play out like this. I mean, it'd be impossible for them to keep ignoring it and thinking that maybe the offense will just pick it up and carry them to victory. I think with a team that young, they need that kind of backstop there to keep their confidence alive. Although it didn't really pay off last year, but I think for their sake, keep an ear to the ground when it comes to goalie availability out there. This is the year they're supposed to take a leap, and I think once Sam Gagner gets back, the forward units are going to look a little bit better. I don't think that Boyd Gordon being your second line center is a very good sign for your depth up the middle. But I think for their sake, though, goaltending is going to have to be a thing. And listen, the way Darnell Nurse, he was their first round pick this year. He is a big physical defenseman. They love him. But, he's 18 years old, and I don't think they were ready to throw him into the fire with every single other young kid he got in that lineup. I don't imagine that Edmonton was really feeling that flow.
Joe Yerdon joining us from ProHockeyTalk.NBCSports.com and NHL.com as well. Joe, here in Montreal, we're getting used to the Red Wings now in our division, and they're a team that went out and acquired some interesting pieces in the offseason, namely Daniel Alfredsson and certainly Stephen Weiss as well. What do you make of the Red Wings this year as compared to maybe what we saw last year?
I think they're a team I think they're a little bit better up the middle. Valtteri Filppula was a very solid performer for them over the years, and they lose him to free agency because they frankly didn't want to pay him $5.5 million a year. And then they go find Stephen Weiss out on the free agency wire, and he was a guy who was always viewed as somebody who was going to be dealt at the deadline, one of these years by Florida to bring a big return and help send the Panthers even more youth and picks and whatnot. And he gets hurt last year, and then he ends up not being able to go anywhere, and the Panthers just lose him. And then he walks into Detroit, and he's graced with the second line center job, and the guy who everybody would have been knocking down Florida's door last trade deadline to get him is just ends up on one of the teams that you don't think needs help, and I think he was an outstanding pickup for them. Alfredsson, we'll see how it works. We've got enough experience with them picking up 40-year-old Swedes and having a lot of success with them in the lineup, so. I think the added drama twist with Detroit being in the same division as Ottawa makes it even more interesting for how things are going to play out this year. So, the Wings, listen, they just keep coming, and they got their wish. They're in the Eastern Conference, and now they get to see what life is like dealing with the Bruins, 4 or 5 times a year.
Right. He is Joe Yerdon, the man of a million tweets. You can check him out on twitter.com/Joe Yerdon PHT. Now, Joe, do you have any goals this year? Do you want to get to 200,000 tweets? What's the story?
I think that could end up happening no matter what. I've been trying to peel things back a little bit, but it's kind of unavoidable when you're so many games now.
That's fair. I'm thinking because of the amount of tweets that you have, I'm thinking I'm missing some tweets where you're literally just completing sentences. One-word tweets, the Penguins have is it something like that, or?
I think if you did if somebody was that bored and did an analysis of all of them, they would see that I'm burning a lot of characters at a time. I'm not really one for the one-worders or stretching things out for drama's sake. It's me trying to cram as many words in as possible. I'm a bit of a talker.
Joe, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Hey, you got it, Matthew. Thanks.